When my children were young, they said no to everything. Eat your veggies. No. Time for bed. No. If you say no one more time, you're going to miss out on something. No. I mean, that's how kids act, right? We were the same. But then we grew up and we became self-conscious. And we started to find it hard to say no and set healthier boundaries on our time. I mean, some of us struggle to say no so much that we end up habitually busy, caught in a cycle of overload. We end up pleasing people, saying yes to everything, and as a result, feeling chronically stressed and stretched for time. Now, clearly you can't jump up and down like a toddler and have a tantrum every time someone in your team asks you to do something. Well, you could, but it may not work out so well. Instead, we need skills and smart strategies in order to push back and set healthier boundaries in a professional, mature, relational way that works in the real world. And that's what this lesson's about. Although sometimes if you want to say no like a pro, the toddler strategy might still work.
No!
So my name's Daniel Sih. I'm a productivity and time management expert. I'm a TEDx speaker and an award-winning author who writes books about how to make space in a world with too much technology. And we're going to talk about how to say no like a pro, meaning how to develop smart strategies in order to set boundaries on your time. I'm going to build on my previous lesson, which is about the science of overload and why most of us are 20% overloaded and how it relates to our psychology. I'd recommend you go back and watch that if you haven't yet seen it. And if this idea connects with you, I'd love you to download my free ebook and audiobook. It's a fantastic resource enjoyed by so many people, and it's called How to Say No for a Greater Yes. You can get this for free. It's my gift to you at spacemakers.au/no. It's amazing the extreme lengths that people will go to in order to avoid saying no. I once coached a senior leader in a human resources team. She had her own office, and even when she closed the door, her team would habitually interrupt her throughout the day. So rather than push back and establish clear boundaries, this leader told me that she would go into her office, close the door, turn the lights off, and lie down on the floor in order to do concentrated, focused work, so that her team thought that she was out of the office. And she was the boss. I've coached another CEO who takes long-haul flights internationally because it's the only time that he can find space to think deeply about strategy, which is his main role. He doesn't say no to meeting requests and interruptions throughout the day, which means he has to fly to Tokyo a bit more regularly than he needs to in order to have some concentrated downtime. And then of course there are many more of us who are so overcommitted that we end up working longer hours than we should, habitually stretched because of an inability to say no. We say yes to so many emails and meetings and projects and tasks and subcommittees that we find it impossible to actually do our most important work in work hours. And so we end up finding quiet spaces to do our work at 5 in the morning or 11 at night. Hey, this isn't a criticism. I get it. Some jobs are tough and it's really hard to navigate the complexities of the modern world. But I think it's also a symptom of our inability to set healthier boundaries, to constrain our work, to remove digital distractions, and to focus on what truly matters. Because if we don't learn to say no, then we don't have a life. But most people don't know how to say no. They don't have the skills or the strategies in order to push back in a mature relational way in a workplace context. So let me give you 7 smart strategies to help you say no. By the end of this video, you'll have phrases and strategies in order to say no in a workplace context to transform the way you live and work. All right, strategy number 1, the let me think about it strategy. Thanks for asking, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you soon. This is one of my favorite strategies and a go-to in lots of situations. It can be hard to make decisions in the moment, particularly when you've got someone in front of you asking you for help. And this is where I find a pre-planned and pre-loaded response can be incredibly helpful rather than having to make up something on the spot. By saying, let me think about it, it buys you a little bit of time. It creates a small gap between the stimulus of the ask and your response. And in that gap, as Viktor Frankl suggests, you can make wise decisions. Having a preloaded response, let me think about it, can stop you making that rash decision where you say yes in the moment and then think, oh, why did I commit to that afterwards? It gives you some breathing room to look at your schedule, consider the time required, and actually work out the true cost in order to provide a considered, thoughtful response. Your response might be a yes, or it might be a yes, but not for another 2 months, or a yes, but for this part of the request, not the whole thing. And of course, you can always say no as a response in a thoughtful, considered way. The only caveat is you do actually have to get back to people in a timely way. Strategy number 2, the I need more information strategy. I love this one. I remember a time when I was a healthcare manager in the public system, and an enthusiastic project manager phoned me up one day and said, I want you to join an exciting new committee. Everyone's getting involved. We're going to meet once a month and we're going to transform multidisciplinary care. Now, it sounded great at the time, but when I hung up, I remember thinking, I actually don't know what we're trying to achieve, and I certainly don't have very much time available for this type of thing. When the meeting invite came to accept a recurring meeting, I wrote back and said, thank you for this invite. I'm interested, but I need more information. Please send me your project plan, outcomes, outputs, and milestones, etc., and the specific reason you need my input. Guess what happened? Radio silence. There wasn't a plan, it was just an excitable idea. The chair didn't actually want to put time and energy in planning his own project. So by delegating work to the delegator, I managed to avoid having to say no simply by asking for more information. Here's the thing, it's fast and free to invite someone to a meeting and slow and costly once you accept. By asking for more information, you can delegate work back to the delegator, expecting them to put more time and energy into their own ideas before you commit to time yourself. At worst, you'll get more clarity about what it means to be involved. And at best, you avoid a low quality commitment without ever having to say no. Win-win. Okay, strategy number 3, the what do you want me to stop doing strategy. I'm happy to take this on, but what would you like me to stop doing or deprioritize in order to make this happen? This strategy is about pushing responsibility for the cost of the yes back to the delegator. It's about making sure that everyone is aware of the true cost of a new commitment without making it invisible. Time is finite. When we say yes to one thing, we say no to everything else. So let's be clear about the true cost of a yes. This strategy works best if you have a reasonable manager and you can have meaningful conversations about your workload. Rather than an adversarial approach, it's about communicating your commitments and working together to find solutions to your workload. This might lead to the realization that extra funding is needed, or dropping a current project in order to make space for the new thing. No matter the result, by sharing the pain, you can share the solutions. Just don't say no without acknowledging the true cost of a yes. Strategy number 4, the lower commitment strategy. I can't attend each week, but I can provide input when needed. This strategy is about reducing the level of commitment to commit to something in part, but not in full. This can be useful when you can't remove yourself from a commitment or when you want to stay abreast of something without giving a lot of your time. Can you read meeting minutes but not attend the meetings? Can you attend monthly rather than weekly, or commit to part of the project rather than the project in full? Be creative and reduce the amount of time required on lower value commitments. It's not about avoiding work altogether, it's about making space for your greater yes. Okay, strategy number 5 is the soft no strategy. I don't have the bandwidth for this right now, but email me next month and we'll meet up. This strategy can be useful if you are genuinely interested in the commitment and yet you don't have time or capacity right now. It effectively does 2 things. Firstly, it gives you breathing room in order to space out a commitment, and it tests the tenacity of the delegator because the ball is in their court for them to recontact you. Now, while I do use this strategy, I do want you to take caution. You should only use the soft no strategy if you genuinely want to be involved in the future, because a soft no is actually a delayed yes. If in doubt, Put yourself in the shoes of your future self. If you think about a commitment and imagine that you would see it in your calendar, let's say tomorrow or the next day, how would you feel about it? If your gut feel is, hell no, well then it probably needs to be a hard no, which is our next strategy. Okay, strategy number 6, the hard no strategy. Unfortunately, with regrets, I have to say no to that request, full stop. Sometimes a firm and unambiguous no is the best strategy. You can do this in a polite and respectful way, but don't mince your words. Remove oxygen from the conversation. Be clear about your boundaries. Make sure that the other person is crystal clear that you have declined their request. I mean, here's my rule of thumb. If someone randomly emails me offering some amazing YouTube SEO services, well then I just delete their emails and I never respond. Ever. Got that? Ever. But if someone in my relational world contacts me, someone I have a connection with, well then of course I'm going to be respectful and polite in my response, even if it's a hard no. I typically say that at the moment, unfortunately, I can't take on anything new. I'm overcommitted. I'm making space for my family, and therefore I respectfully decline your invitation. It's polite, it's clear, it's an unambiguous hard no. That said, there are also times where it's okay to respond no without an explanation. As one of my friends likes to say, no is a complete sentence. Okay, the final strategy to say no like a pro is the greater yes strategy. And this is super important because if in doubt, you need to remember why you are saying no in the first place. Because no is never the goal. We're saying no in order to achieve a greater yes. Because your time is limited, every time you say yes to something, well then you're saying no to every other thing you could do with that time. And it's important to remember this, to keep our greater yeses at the forefront of our mind whenever we need to make the uncomfortable decision to push back and say no. By saying no to that extra project, I'm saying yes to self-care, whether it be a quiet walk or a good book, or maybe a long bath. I mean, make sense? So it's not about the no. It never is. It's about your greater yes. And that's why we practice the skills and strategies of saying no like a pro. We're actually learning to say yes to the people who truly matter in our lives, including ourselves. If you remember nothing else, I would love you to take away this. Whatever you are saying yes to is shaping your life. So say no for a greater yes. So if you truly want to master the art of saying no and really hone these skills to shift your mindset, your emotions, and your habits, I encourage you to visit spacemakers.au/no. You can download a free ebook and audiobook called How to Say No for a Greater Yes and reclaim space for a meaningful, intentional life. That's spacemakers.au/no. I'd love you to sign up and enjoy this resource. And of course, I'd love you to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And please leave a comment. I would love to find out if you have any other strategies to help you say no for a greater yes. I'd love to know more about your motivations and why you say yes and why you say no. And of course, I'd love to hear about what truly connected with you from this video. I personally read each comment. But until next time, make space.